The DNA Diaries, a page 256 library publication, a book authored by Denny Roberts Ameke, and read to you by Charlotte Mugisha. Story 1.
Cloning and the Future. Chapter 4. The birthmark code and the blood tests. Blood tells stories long before the tongue dares to speak the words. End quote. Ngugi wa Mitu. Helen stood frozen in the corridor, the sealed envelope still clutched in her shaking hands like a curse she couldn't undo. The words burned behind her eyes. Your children are not who they seem. One of them will disappear. She read it again, as if hoping that this time the words would rearrange themselves into something less terrifying. But they didn't. They remained exactly as they were, cold, deliberate, and laced with eternal fear. James stood behind her, silent now, a man carved from secrets and silence. He hadn't flinched when she'd opened the letter, hadn't moved, just watched her face twist through confusion, horror, and finally determination. "I'm taking them all in," she said, voice cold as steel, "for proper genetic tests." He didn't move. "You don't know what you're doing," he murmured. "I know enough," she shot back. "I know Liana Chitende wasn't your wife. I know that child has your DNA. And I know someone wants him gone." She turned sharply, eyes blazing, "and I won't let that happen." By noon, she managed to pick all the kids from school and they were already at Dr. Alupo's private genetics lab, a discreet facility sitting in a quiet neighborhood next to Infinity Apartments, Muyenga, known to only those who need privacy more than legality. Far from any hospital records and prying eyes, she had chosen Dr. Alupo because she was a friend from medical school and she owed her a favor from back then when they'd worked together as interns. James had insisted on coming along, and Helen hadn't stopped him. She needed to see how he reacted when the truth started peeling away like old wallpaper, revealing dirt beneath the wall. Dr. Alupo greeted them with a tight smile and a wary glance toward James. "Are you guys sure about this?" she asked under her breath as she led them inside. "No," Helen admitted, "but we have to be." One by one, the kids were swabbed, all of them including the youngest. Each time the nurse took a sample, Helen felt a piece of herself vibrate. These were her children, her blood, her love, her sacrifices, but now even that certainty was slipping through her fingers. As the samples were processed, Helen sat across from James in the waiting room. She stared at his hands, folded neatly above his chest. No sign of nervousness, only quiet calculation. "Tell me," she said, voice low, "when were you planning to tell me my son isn't mine?" His jaw tightened. "He is yours," he responded, "in every way that matters. In every lie," she corrected. He leaned forward, voice barely above a whisper. "You think this is about blood? This is about protection, about keeping something alive that was never meant to be born." She leaned forward. "Then tell me what it is you're protecting," she whispered, "because I swear to God, James, if you lie to me again, I will destroy everything." Before he could answer, Dr. Alupo appeared. Her face was calm. "Helen," she said gently, "we are done taking the samples, and the earliest our results will be ready is after 3 days. So, see you on Friday." The revelation. They returned after 3 days and Dr. Alupo ushered them straight in the lab, where the screen lit up with 4 genetic profiles. She sat awkwardly beside Helen, her fingers hovering over the keyboard like she wasn't sure whether to continue. Her usual composed demeanor had cracked, replaced by confusion, disbelief, and something deeper. Fear. She pointed to the first result. "This is your eldest daughter," she began, voice tight with unease. "Her DNA shows no match whatsoever to James Mwanda." Helen nodded slowly. "That's what I expected." Dr. Alupo scrolled down. "The second child, 8 years old, also shows no match, same as the third child. Neither shares any paternal DNA with Mr. Mwanda." She paused, glancing nervously at James, who sat unmoved, expression unreadable. Dr. Alupo cleared her throat. But then we come to child number 4. Helen swallowed hard. The 3-year-old. Dr. Alupo nodded grimly. This child matches James's DNA at 99.9%. That's nearly perfect. But there's something else. A pattern we flagged during cross-referencing. Helen frowned. What kind of pattern? Dr. Alupo pulled up another chart, this one showing 6 other genetic profiles, all male, all frighteningly similar. They share over 98% of their DNA with your son, she explained. We ran it through our anomaly detection system, and it came back flagged as a possible cloning sequence. Silence filled the room. Then, cloning? Helen whispered. Dr. Alupo nodded confidently. All 6 of these individuals were registered in an undisclosed database. None of them survived infancy. She paused. But your son did. James said nothing. He simply stared at the screen. His jaw tightened. His expression remains unreadable. Helen turned to him. Is this true? She asked, voice trembling. Are you telling me my son is part of a failed experiment? James didn't answer. Instead, Dr. Alupo clicked again. A new file loaded, and a photo appeared. A man in his 30s with James Wanda's face. Not similar, but identical. Even his scar matched. Only this time, Helen saw something else in his eyes, something artificial, and something she'd never seen before. Dr. Alupo finally spoke, her voice unsteady. I've been doing this for 20 years, she said, staring at the screen, and I've never seen anything like this. 4 children, none of whom share the same father. 3 of them conceived using donor sperm, and 1 is cloned. She looked between them, confused. How are you both so calm? This should be breaking you up. James didn't react, but Helen did. She turned to the doctor. You don't understand, she said softly. We're already broken. The journal entry. That night, Helen found it. After hours of searching and causing an enormous mess in all the rooms of their house, buried beneath a false compartment inside James's reading table drawer, a leather-bound journal, page after page filled with clinical notes, sketches, and names, 7 names, each marked with a date of birth, each crossed out except 1. Subject number 7, JMW 007. Alive, embedded, unprotected. At the bottom of the last page, if subject number 7 survives past age 5, the replication process will be deemed successful. If he bonds emotionally, we may finally understand what makes us human. End quote. Helen slammed the book shut. She was raising an experiment. Not a child, an experiment. And James, he wasn't just hiding him. He was preparing him. The house had gone silent long before midnight. Helen had forced the children to sleep early, her voice trembling just enough to make them obey without question. She hadn't told them anything. She couldn't, not yet. She sat alone in the dining, the journal opened on the table, James's name repeated like a curse across its pages. Subject number 7. Embedded, protected. But from what? And from whom? A movement creaked upstairs, then another, slow and deliberate. Not the wind. Someone was moving through the corridor. Helen rose quietly, slipping the phone into her pocket, and tiptoed up the stairs. James had walked into the children's room and was standing next to the crib where the 3-year-old slept. The baby's eyes were open. They glowed faintly blue in the dark. James whispered softly. It's okay, he said. You're safe for now. Behind him, Helen watched from the doorway, phone in her hand and recording everything as she held her breath.